guys around me and keeping us organized and focused on our freedom, okay? When my man come in, he say, man, I like that term, time done, right? And when he said that, I said, okay, yes, you see the period at the end of it? You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is this, that's what we saying, our time is done. We out here now, right? We got our children to look after, we got our families, you know what I'm saying? We have a presence. But is our time really done? I'm gonna hold that thought right there. Let me show you something. Y'all see this right here? This picture, when I first became a part of this organization called Time Done, right? This picture, I ran across this banner downtown Sacramento, right? And so they had a Time Done Day in Sacramento. They have it every year in Sacramento. And that, you see that number 40,000 plus, right? So that number signifies the barriers that people have to face nationally. Okay, in Ohio it's a different number, and I'll get to that later. But that is and it says plus because all of them aren't discovered. They're not discovered until you run into them. I'm gonna give you one prime example of that. How many of y'all are service providers in here? You're a service provider, I know you are, all right? How many of y'all are seeking to go to school for social work or get your license or whatever, or you work around people to do that stuff, right? Now, do you know that half the people, no, majority of the people who have been incarcerated, depending upon what their crime was, who go to school to get a social work degree, and then once they get out of school, they go get a license. You gotta get a license to practice. But when you get that license, there's a big old red categorization. You can look it up online of what crime you can't have these following crimes in order to get the license. So to a lot of people, it's a waste of time going to school for that piece right there. So you gotta get creative. So I've experienced that, but I experienced on another note. So a lot of people going for licensure, and do you know in Ohio, when the University of Toledo is at the forefront of finding these barriers throughout the state. But do you know that most people don't even put that barrier in front as one of the top, it's like 5,000 barriers in the state. It's not even categorized as a barrier because we haven't found them all. Right. We won't know them until you come across them or until you tell us what's going on so we can give light to it, all right? And we have a way that we can hurdle over those barriers. We can jump over those barriers, knock them down, get over those hurdles. We have a way to do that, and I'll talk about it in just a minute. But to get back to Time Done, Time Done is a national organization that seeks to improve criminal justice reform by way of eliminating those barriers, okay? Today, Time Done also offers resources, right? So today, you'll be lined up with, when you sign in over there, you'll be lined up with a job. How many of y'all heard of Honest Jobs? Anybody know what Honest Job? You heard of Honest Job? Honest Jobs, and I talk about how Honest Job is so-called felon friendly, but it is pretty much if you're a service provider and you got people that's coming into your agency that need a job, or you with the APA or any entity that deals with the criminal justice system, Honest Jobs would be a good link for you. And it's not like Indeed.com. It knows automatically what case you're dealing with, so it won't even send your client or you that way if you got a barrier in front of you for a certain type of job, right? All right, the licensure one is what I'm talking about, all right? Then you align with other resources that we got in front of the paper that says member support program. We're gonna go over that, and because once you leave here, you're gonna have that support that you would need in order to get past those barriers I'm speaking about. Because at the end of the day, we gotta be like Anton and go downtown Columbus and advocate for new policies to be passed. And he did that in real time. Like, he was one of the people Anton travels anywhere in the country. He represented this city right here. Am I right? Everybody know him for even when we was in DC together. He's a part of another program under our umbrella called Alliance for Safety and Justice that's called Crime Survivors Speak. But Anton also is a part of Time Done. See, we also are advocates for victims of crime because 90% of people victims of crime, we find out, got felonies. And did y'all know at one point in time, that y'all know about the victim compensation fund? Y'all know how much money that is? Like every year, it's about, at least about, it gets refunded, but it's it was up to like $300 million at one point. Is it a little more now?
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it goes untouched for many years because people with felonies couldn't touch it. So we get out, you know, we go back to our families. We got a prison fellas or ladies. When we get back out, we go back to our husbands and we go deal with our children. And then perhaps someone is coming to our home, break in, we discover, we get into a tussle with them, and then we get cut or shot in the process. They leave, you know what I'm saying? We go to the hospital, and by the time it's all said and done, you know, my wife, who never experienced prison, she was hurt, she was damaged, she had to have surgery, she got her arm broken, but the victim compensation fund would support her because she's married to me.
Wow. So you can't have any links.
Hold on, I got you, brother, because you about to say wow again. Watch this. So it was people like Anton, myself, getting together on behalf of victims of crimes, especially those who have felonies, going downtown Columbus to get the law passed. House Bill what? 35?
Man, we 146 in, so I'm not.
Yeah, the first one though.
35.
Yeah.
I think 35 was the one where it stopped them from having prejudices against people with past convictions from the victim compensation fund and their families. So like you said, if your wife and you were injured and they knew you had a past felony, that was an automatic denial. Now it's the way we have rewritten the legislation, and Josh Williams, Paula Hicks, they were champions from two different sides of the aisle. We did get that legislation passed, so now if you are a victim of crime, you are not excluded from getting those funds, which is very important because, again, like he stated, a lot of victims of crime have felonies, and a lot of people who commit felonies, that is a cause of having unresolved trauma recovery issues.
And that law, you look that up on your phone, like he said before, victims of crime now who have felonies have access to the victim compensation fund and the trauma recovery centers. Because of crime survivor speaks, we used to call them crime safety and justice here, y'all. And then, you know, Time Done came later on. I was a part of that first, but then Time Done came later on. And now we was instrumental in getting Senate Bill 288 passed. All right? And Senate Bill 288, see, like, we ain't just out here running our mouths and just having workshops and stuff like that. We are doing the footwork down in the Capitol. This is what this is about. Because the thing is, it makes us better. It makes things better for our families. We're gonna be long gone, and these laws are still gonna exist. All right. So you learn once you get your story together. You'll learn through this program how to tell your story and how to use your story as a tool to get laws passed. One more thing I want to talk about before I get to the presentation is Senate Bill 288. How many of y'all familiar with it? Right. That came out maybe a couple of years ago, and when we went to the state capitol, y'all remember the movie on Netflix? How many of y'all got a Netflix subscription? Mm-hmm. You remember the movie where the doctor was impregnating his patients? Mm-hmm. Right? All right, so there was no law to protect his clients. There was no law to protect his clients. Just keep that in mind. And this is the guy on a higher level with multi-millionaires, you know what I'm saying, up there. So the lady who was narrating the story in the movie, if you recall, was one of his daughters, so-called physical biological daughters. And she was straight salty, right behind it. And she found out she had 1,000 to 1,000 more brothers and sisters who went through the same thing. So dude was just having his way. In the midst of us advocating for Senate Bill 288, which a bill was this big, but as it pertains to us, it talked about giving service providers access to the prisons so people can have more engagement with their families. And it let the judges, made the judges accountable for those filing for judicial release, where the judge had to give a reason why he was denying. Because the judge never would give a reason. It was denied. It would be no reason. So that's amongst the other things. It gave reentry programs a better opportunity to serve people coming home. All right. Now, the lady came from that movie, and she was there advocating for the same bill, which gave it a push to be passed, to send it up, you know, sent to the governor, so he can sign off on it, right? And that's the type of work we do, okay? Under Alliance for Safety and Justice, Crime Survivor Speaks, and Time Done. Time Done is the old record, are those with old records, men and women, you know what I'm saying? And it's over, how many in the country that we have? The people that's with old records, y'all know? Over 100 million. You lay that on your phone. That's more people than South Africa as a nation, the whole Eastern Europe. We have more people with old records that's not going back to prison than we can formulate our own nation. And I bet you'd be more safe. What y'all think?
Yeah.
Right. So that's based upon our unity, and platforms like this give us that type of vision. So I'll speak to you about those two bills, just to let you know that at the end of the day, this is just not about reentry. It's about introducing new laws and eliminating those hurdles, eliminating those barriers that we face, being people with old records. Some of your families are affected, some of our children are getting affected, and we are affected. So I remember this before I get started. When I told y'all my story when I come into the prison system, how I was listening to the radio one day, and George Bush got on there, right? I'm talking about the father, George Bush. He was addressing an issue that Governor Voinovich, I remember Governor Voinovich, right? He was addressing an issue that came up through Governor Voinovich. Governor Voinovich wanted more money to build more prisons. So he told him, like, hey, look, go ahead and build a whole fence around that whole state. I'm not giving you nothing. I remember that clear as day, but I didn't understand it until maybe about 15, 16 years ago. You know, what that was all about. And that was all about the barriers that Ohio was coming with, you know, to discriminate against people with old records. Now, let's move forward. All right. Collateral consequences, right? What is a collateral consequence? Anybody knows what that is? What a collateral consequence is? All right. So it's the barriers I was just talking about. We call them, some people call them collateral sanctions, others call them collateral consequences. Like I stated before, this was in 2023, so it's more than 40,000 nationwide. So you got 100 million people facing 40,000 plus barriers right now, nationwide. And the more and more barriers are found, and the more and more people are incarcerated, that gap get closed. And what's in that gap? What's in the gap? What's in the ingredients? Is what we call the 13th Amendment, United States Constitution. Now, who knows what the 13th Amendment says? Go ahead, sir.
So the 13th Amendment was supposedly created to abolish slavery, but what it did was it allocated slavery to a specific space, which was prisons, and for people with felony jackets or numbers. So it created a need to create local legislations and ordinances of crimes, create crimes to fulfill that need to have free labor and slave labor. I won't get too far into interpretation, but I will say it was created to secure a space for corporate slavery and take it out of the public eye. So the 13th Amendment was originally created for that purpose, and now that we are aware that it is to facilitate a safe space to have slavery, which is the prisons, and then to have clients, which you call felons or prisoners, they are the actual slaves, and where slavery was allocated with the 13th Amendment.
So slavery was advanced to the prison industry complex. That's what he's saying.
Prison industrial complex.
Slavery shall be abolished with the exception for the punishment of a crime. That's what it says. Yeah. Put it up on your phone. I keep it locked on my phone because at the end of the day, people always want to talk against you about slavery. All you gotta do is to go to the 13th Amendment. See, with our history, the most important evidence that we have is the United States Constitution. A lot of people don't even have it read. It should be right there on your living room wall, right next to the Last Supper picture that some of y'all got still up there from the old school days. Y'all remember that? Remember the Last Supper in the dining room? And then you go into the front room and John King, Dr. King up in there. Right? It should be right up in there. Because at the end of the day, it affects you right now, your every move that you make. Okay? The 13th Amendment is just as effective as the Second Amendment. 13th Amendment, slavery shall be abolished except for punishment of a crime. Look it up on your phone, keep it locked in, and bookmark it. All right? Because that's going to affect you in everything that you do. So when you get discriminated against, always remember they discriminate against you based upon the 13th Amendment, right? Which is the elite sanction.
And then one thing we can add to that is a lot of people have to understand once you get a felony, you are not a citizen in the same where we say, I have rights.
Right.
No, you have lost all rights, and knowing that the 13th Amendment has made you a slave does not have rights in the United States of America. So when the police run your plate or see your felony in any type of interaction with you, then they will treat you as a 13th Amendment citizen, not a citizen with rights from the Constitution of the United States.
This is, our country is quite interesting, right? But when you turn the page, you'll see, when you look at the United States Constitution, all right? Because we're in a state where we're now being introduced to the black codes. I don't know, some of y'all don't know what that is, but the black codes of Virginia, in the old days, before the 1860s, that was strictly for black folks, but the United States government had for black folks, okay? We'll get to that. My name is Artise Anderson. I'm the Ohio chapter coordinator. Time Done exists all over this country, mostly in California, because it started there in LA, but it made its way to the east by way of Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Texas, and they opening up a chapter in Arizona as well, and Georgia. They're working on that. But I'm the representative for Ohio this year, and at the same time, since I've been doing this work, introducing it to people, the information and the concept behind Time Done, it's been fun. Especially for those who those people in Cleveland, because we started off in Cleveland, right? And when we started off in Cleveland, we started off on Miles and Lee Road. Y'all know where that's at?
What?
In Cleveland?
From there.
Right. So we was at the Frederick Douglass Center on Miles and Lee Road. We kicked it off. Right? The Frederick Douglass Center is brand new. Y'all familiar with Cleveland? All right. Okay, it's brand new, right? So there, over about 200 people came out to join us. And when they came out, we had a bunch of people lined up who were service providers throughout the county, right, of Cuyahoga County. So we had treatment service providers, we had employers, and the most key thing we had was we talk show who was eligible for expungements or not. Because one of the key things in knocking down these barriers is finding out who's eligible. Like, who's eligible right now for expungement, who's looking to have their record expunged? If you know. You don't know until you look it up. Right? All right. So with that being said, if you stay connected, we're going to build a system here to where we can have expungement clinics. And Anton's already committed, but we're going to have to do Lucas County. The next expungement clinic we got coming up is at Tri-C. Y'all familiar with Tri-C? Right? That's Cuyahoga Community College. That's on January 30th. If you're more than invited to get that experience, but we're going to do it on the college campus.
Which campus?
Tri-C.
Which one? Harvard or downtown?
Downtown.
Downtown.
All right. So who we are, right? Time Done is the nation's largest and fastest growing network of people who have old records. There are 100 million people in our nation face over 40,000 barriers because of their old records. Time Done currently has over 250,000 members nationwide. We are growing, all right? Everybody here has a record. Who doesn't have a record? Okay, if you don't have a record, but you got family, you got a record, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's who you be sharing this information with, because all the families are family. What we do, Time Done works towards improving public safety by removing barriers to economic stability and successful reintegration back to society. I, by trade, am a reentry specialist. I've been doing reentry since I got out. I told you I got out in 2008. Put myself in a situation where I learned how to facilitate family reintegration. So I go into the prisons every single week. I go into 2 prisons. I go into Mansfield Correctional Institution and I go into Richland Correctional Institution, and I facilitate family reintegration with fathers. I'm also, sometimes I go into Ohio Reformatory for Women and date and pick away as well. But one of the things we do is we facilitate a class called Create Lasting Family Connections. It's an evidence-based program and assists people how to be better communicators with their families. And I noticed through research and studies, since I've been doing it, reentry is much better when you have fathers and mothers involved. Fathers and mothers have more of a positive attitude about staying home and staying out when they have children. I ain't saying everybody, but I am saying that when we put people up, when people go up and they go home, they get paroled or they do their time, you can identify these parents staying home more than just anybody single living by themselves and do anything else, because the triggers don't affect them as much as they used to affect them when they didn't have children. All right, and I'm big on that because the children, the psychology of incarceration shows us that after a certain period of time, children stop being resilient with their love, with their parent who keep going in and out of prison. They become used to it. And I teach that you have a certain window as a parent to feed love and not go back to prison when it comes to your children. You have a certain window. Child turned 12, you've been in prison for 5 years. Child couldn't wait to see you. Child turned 14, you back in prison. Then child turns 16, child considers you a jailbird. Then child wants to know where you're going, what you was doing, and what's more important than them. Therefore, that child is in your pathway and in your footsteps, going back to prison, going to prison just like you. All right. Y'all get that part? Mm-hmm. Right. So reentry is very important. That's why I say that it's cool to start educating on time down when you're when the guys are inside. I talk about that. So our objective today is to understand collateral consequences, the incarceration, and the impact on various sectors. And that's talking about like employment, housing, etc. Explore the relationship between public safety and restoration of rights. Discuss best practices and solutions for building a restorative justice ecosystem. Highlight the importance of asset framing in community development. Mobilize participants to advocate for policy change and community engagement. That's what I was talking about earlier about the policy change going down to Columbus and making it happen. The importance of expungements and reconciliation. That's the most important thing that I can talk about while we're here. All right? And I'm not gonna hold you, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm a more active type of person, I'm not gonna hold you long either. All right? I'm not gonna hold you here long, but whatever you have to ask me, I'm here to answer. So let's look at the collateral consequences. What are they? Collateral consequences refer to the additional civil disabilities that individuals face after incarceration beyond the direct punishment of imprisonment. The key areas affected are included: housing, employment, education, in some states voting rights, not here, and public benefits. All right? Now, I gave you a piece of paper in front of you with a guy with an orange suit on. Y'all see that? All right? So, this pamphlet right here shows you what happens to a person when they're constantly going over what we call, like they constantly face those barriers over and over again. I go to a job, I get discriminated against because I got, you know, I got this type of, I got a violent felony. I go to this other job, they tell me they're gonna hire me, but now they do the background check, I get back. For the housing part, hey, I know I can't get a house in this community over here, but I want my children to go to school over here in this area, in this school district, and I want to live in this environment. So I'm gonna send my wife up there to the real estate guy and try to get a house. Oh, my wife go through a background check. Guess what? She married to me. She can't get it. We can't get the house.
And this happens a lot.
Yeah, because of me or because of her. You gotta remember, what's the highest growth in population? The highest percentage of prison population right now? Who's growing? What population is growing in prison right now at the fastest rate? That's what I mean. Who? Yeah, it's women. It's women. So we can't lead the women now because listen, watch this. We up to 4 prisons now with women.
And I can tell y'all something, when we started these laws, when I first was released 17, by 19 we had started working on legislation, by 2020 I had been fully restored. Like in 2017 I was in Lucas County finna commit suicide, body broke, mind broke, lost my son, financially broken. This sister came in there and prevented that. That's why I'm glad she's here. But at that time, when in 2019, when I was invited to the White House, Ayanna Pressley, Elizabeth Warren, Senator Hicks Hudson, they all sat me down in a room and showed me the analytics that now that we have a reentry coalition and we have the certified quality employment, that's the employment up there, certified qualified housing, that's for felons in prison. Once we started getting the men from going back in the recidivism loop, they started targeting the women. They came up with misdemeanor domestic violence, or if she tell him, Negro, get out of my face, boom, she goes to jail. If you have any complications with pregnancy, boom, she goes to jail. So they created crimes for women in our community right when we figured out how to lower the recidivism and to get our records restored for the men. So I just wanted to add that.
Right.
And women are going at 300% the rate of men right now in our county, state, and from the targeting of the women, because the men are getting a little bit smarter.
Right. Just remember, you have a lot more women right now grabbing a hold to that pack as ever before. You have a lot of them now carrying pistols, doing stick-ups than ever before. And with the different drugs that's out here, the designer drugs, that take over designer drugs and manufactured drugs, that take over that, the market is wide open now, all right? And so we have to respect that in light of the fact that we have to turn our attention to the women that are incarcerated. I'm gonna tell you right now, in 2012, when I used to go into, 2014, when I used to go into ORW, definitely ORW, right? Anybody who's not familiar with ORW? That's Ohio Reformatory for Women. That's the #1, it's Murraysville, all right? They expanded that prison. They built more dorms, they elevated everything, the programming in it, so when you go up in there, it's like, what happened? And they're younger, all right? Just like the men are, but the females are younger. You don't hear about too many female juvenile facilities over in the state. Right? So it's like, it's an unspoken bond over that's going on with the females, right? All right, so what's the #1, I said it already, but I just want to make sure y'all get it. What's the #1 barrier that we face with old records? I said it. Huh? You think it's a job?
Not able to get housing or job.
You say so. What's the #1 collateral consequence? Housing.
Yeah.
Housing. I don't know if y'all, I don't come to Toledo a lot. I know a lot of people up here. In the last 5 years, I haven't been here too many times. But have y'all seen the increase in homelessness downtown?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad, right? Right. So y'all see y'all, and listen, I'm gonna tell you what I saw. I just left the Bronx, right? I just left. First time I ever been there. And look. There are so many. I was in the train. I was on 149th and Morris Ave, and I was just walking around because I was trying to find some clothes. I needed particular clothes, right? I'm trying to find some undergarments and stuff. So it was 99-cent stores everywhere. I'm trying to figure out which I was trying to go. And what I noticed is you had a lot of people standing on the corners like this, right? And then bent over so far back, I'm thinking they're gonna fall, but they're not gonna fall. They're just in one spot, looking like that, with the eyes closed. Then there's some people just bent over the trash can. This is a lot of people doing this, right? So I remember I seen that on YouTube, in Philadelphia, it's a lot of that going on. In LA, and they on that one drug, right? But they homeless. They on fentanyl and that trank, all that stuff that's out, and it look like they're possessed. So you got people walking with their children, hold close to their hip, walking by, and something told me like, man, you got people videotaping it. I'm just like, man, we headed in a direction we gotta be prepared for, and we gotta face all these barriers at the same time. We're trying to live right and do right. Okay, so I'm here today to show you how to move beyond that. Okay, because we gotta definitely get ourselves together to be prepared for the new world, man, and the world that's coming our way, rather to say. But housing is number one. I spoke about education, about the licensure piece. Remember I said that about the social workers and the nurses and all that stuff. That's a part of it. So I'm gonna run this to you real quick. Collateral consequences. 70 to 100 million people in the United States have an own record. In 2024, the U.S. had an estimated population of 340 million in the nation. There are over 40,000 collateral consequences nationwide. These barriers extend to families of the formerly incarcerated. So if I say 100 million, right, of people who physically did time and moved beyond their time, and then I tell you a story about how my wife can't get the house in the school district that we want to live in, and my 2 to 5 children are affected by this, then the numbers go up, don't it? Because our children are affected by the barriers along with our siblings, right? With our loved ones, all right? So, is it really 100 million nationwide? Let's give about 25 million of those people families. Be careful, because that 13th Amendment is a trick bag that's going to put us right back on the plantation. You've got to pay attention to that. Because we already volunteering ourselves to go back into the prison. One day, all this stuff going to shut down, and you're going to see your loved ones no more. Where are the people who was captured in the streets? Especially the ones who's supposed to get sent to, what they call it, Alligator Island? Where are the people that they just snatched up off the street? Where they go? Where they go? That's what I'm saying. Where they go? Y'all know what I'm talking about? All right. This is the interesting one right here, y'all. It ain't long. There are over 3 million people in Ohio with old records. The number is higher. I just put 3 million because when I first did this, I didn't want to debate with all the criminal justice people. It's really about 4 million people. Their total population in Ohio is 12.5 million. Pay attention to that. In 2020, Toledo University of Toledo said that there was 1,200 barriers that was discovered. Now, in 2022, the organization we're here for, Alliance for Safety and Justice, who's the umbrella we up under time done, and CSS. You see this picture right here? This me in the middle. That's Jay Jordan, our former national director. That's Candace Williams out of Cleveland. That number says 1,500. That's what they discovered. And all 1,500 barriers is right behind us on a bulletin that we had. In 2024, you see the years, this is every 2 years. Look how the increase in barriers come every 2 years. In 2024, there were 2,679 barriers that were discovered. This is the Ohio Justice and Policy Center and BFO, Building Freedom, Ohio. They discovered that. Now, 1,500 to 2,679. I know there's over 3,000 plus barriers that have been discovered in the state. I just left that number there because we in 2025 going on 26 now. 3 million people living in Ohio with old records. Now, if they got families, right? Let's go back to the family piece. I got 2 to 5 children. My wife, I can't go live in the Heights somewhere. that number jumps up to what number, y'all? Give me a number. How many of us are affected? With our families included. We're talking about almost be at 50% of the population. To be realistic, man, in Ohio, almost everybody got somebody that done did some time in their family.
Or doing time.
Oh yes, or doing time. Listen to this. I'm from Washington, D.C., right? When I grew up in D.C., it was 85% black, right? It got gentrified, all right? Everybody in D.C. who catch a case go to the feds, right? They go to the feds. We the majority fed population. All I'm saying is this. What I do know is that every time I see somebody come home from the feds, it was our leaders. And they tell us about what's going on in the feds as if it's a rites of passage we had to go. Y'all know how it go. But it's so intense there because you got little old DC at that time, it was 600,000 people. You know what I'm saying? All those black folks, and everybody down there knew everybody. So incarceration was like a part of life. And this is the 1990s, 1980s. In Ohio, this big state of Ohio, 12.5 million people. It's over 50% of people are affected by these barriers. And like I said before, who is going to Columbus advocating for these laws against us? We don't see it, we don't hear it. They just constantly passing these laws, create more barriers for us, and no one knows. That's why we got to be at these meetings. The way some people tell you to be at the city hall meetings and stuff like that, and look at the issues on the table for the city and the county and all that stuff, we got to be in the Capitol like that. Who got the time? Who got the time? That's the only way we can stop it. But we found a remedy through our organization just to introduce new policies. We build them like we build them right now, and then we find people to write them up, and you know what I'm saying, we get it passed. Well, we try to get it passed, we advocate for it, but we got to be at every hearing. Right? That's how Senate Bill, House Bill 35 got passed, and Senate Bill 288 got passed. And what's the newest one y'all working on? You gotta know these things.
I do, but man, listen, like I said, I'm on 5 bills right now. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you.
Well, all right, I'm gonna come right back to you on that bill, on the bill. All right. Oh, what did it say right here? Okay, if families are affected, how many are affected by these barriers? I asked that question. All right. Specific impacts to Ohio. All right. Employment, housing, education, public benefits. Hey, y'all saw what happened with the food stamps, right? How many of y'all was checking to see if your stuff was reloaded? You know what I'm saying? So, hey, just keep in mind, it's going down, right? I'm gonna get past that part, but we already discussed that. All right. Definition of public safety. Real public safety is achieved through community trust, restored rights, and social cohesion. Consequences of incarceration. Recidivism rates increase when individuals lack access to jobs, housing, and social support. So if you're a service provider and you're here today, just our resources that we have with time done is very important to you and the clients you serve. Communities are destabilized when individuals cannot reintegrate successfully. Restoration of rights, restoring voting rights, and access to employment can reduce recidivism and promote public safety. Who does not vote in here? Ain't nothing wrong with you, bro. I'm glad. Ain't nothing wrong at all. But do you think it's important? Right? Talk to me. Let me know what's happening. Right? Okay. One of the things I had to learn, I never believed in the voting system, things like that. And I look at the presidency as a game, right? And the Democrat Republic thing is a big old show. But when it comes to your local stuff, so I'm gonna share this with y'all too. I'm the president of my local NAACP where I live at, all right? And I learned how the voting rights and voting is so important locally. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about from the mayor all the way down to the people who got the districts, all that stuff, the county commissioner, all that stuff is so important because the thing is my friend just got elected in Ward 4 down the area where I'm at, and she's a very positive person. So it showed me that, you know what I'm saying, once we rally people up, and the person she ran against was up on from the other side. You know what I'm saying? So when she's in there now, she come from us, that's just hope she stay with us. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it does affect the local. You can see your results of your vote and the people that you know in the local part of it. You know, so if you want to get into that, I encourage you to, but when it comes down to these barriers and what we're doing, we need you. That's about how we need you, bro. Alright. Alright, connecting the dots, okay. Restorative justice, how many of y'all familiar with restorative justice? Anybody familiar, who's not familiar with restorative justice? Okay, restorative justice is a term that's always been used, and that's executed by people with old records. So 9 times out of 10, the people that's doing this work that I'm talking about are people like us, you know, and it's our families that are helpful, and we're gonna give special shout outs to the people who just have a heart to make a difference in their communities, and they step it up. Restorative justice focuses on repairing harm caused by criminal behavior, emphasizing accountability. That's a big one. Community involvement and healing. All right. I'm sure all y'all know Anton, right? Anton his heart and his soul is so committed to the work that he does that if you ask Anton to speak on a drop of a dime about what he does, at the end of the day, you're gonna have a clear understanding of the work he does because he's coming from the gut with it. All right. I've been in 3 different arenas with him, and he's going to tell the same story with a different twist, but with the same energy and the same passion, so people can get an understanding of the work that he does. Don't get him to talking about how he's been a victim of crime, because that is going to go further into understanding how the laws affect people and how they affected him and how he turned it around. He's a prime example of what it means to be a restorative justice agent. You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Right.
288 is what we're working on, the revisions on 288 dealing with the houses and some of the sanctions that they're not respecting. And then HB 96. And again, these are some of the things when they tell you locally, hey, you are not allowed to get housing, you can't get expunged, you can't get restored. These laws were passed to circumvent special circumstances, like when he said, your time is done, you're a past offender, you're not still offending. One thing we realized, once we do get your record expunged or even get you on the pathway with a CQE and a CQH, you need a living wage job, some education, something that will produce income and stability outside of what we were doing before reprogramming. So these bills are focusing on funding and then securities that you will not be discriminated against for past crimes, or even them to have the availability to see that. They can only judge you from resume, certificate or license, or what you present them right now, not from the past. So these are things we're working on. And as he said about the expungement clinic, we have one coming up towards Cleveland, but trust me, I'm working on it between December and January, maybe February. We're gonna have another one here, but we do one-to-one. So that's why I said be here at 11, or you can contact me after. We'll do a one-to-one with you to walk you through your expungement process. Right now will work for me, Willie Knighton, Daniel Williams, you know, several people, and I'm even helping Artise because he said he has some stuff that's impossible, but those are the cases that we are and that we help with, is those impossibilities. Because the same judge that told me you will never be able to get a firearm, you will never be able to sell insurance or get a federal job, 3 years later wrote a letter and said, hey, you need to restore his rights. I'm a federal director of an EPA and HUD program. You know, in a lot of spaces that felony those felonies would have excluded me, they helped me even get those restorations, and we'll walk you through those processes.
All right, thank you. Send me that revision 288. Send me that. All right, key principles, right? Let's move through it real quick. I don't want to move too long. All right, involves victims, offenders in the community, right? At some point, like, you know, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I've been out here, robbing, stealing, since I was a kid, you know, and it was passed down. I'm sure some of y'all have been through the same thing. But at at some point, it's like, especially when you become a father, or you just come to a realization that, you know, the only way you can sustain yourself is in a healthy and safe society. You gotta have to make a difference and help these young kids understand and learn better. Because the children today, they're not coming up with fathers, so especially the boys. So they're seeking fatherhood through their mothers. And that right there, how can they defend the community from outside? Where does the pack come from? Who's putting that in our community? Like the brothers who go out, you know, for the economic fight, like where they getting it from, right? To make people like I said, in the Bronx stay like this. And the children looking at that, some kids be like, hey, I want to see what that feel like. I research a lot, right? I've been told, you know what I'm saying, it come from a different part of cross seas, you know, and it's an act of war. But we get to build on that sometime later. Alright. Seeks to address the root cause of crime and to restore relationships. I remember the 80s was the last era where you could go block to block and see block parties and no one get touched. House parties was on a regular, was no shooting. Maybe a little fight here and there, but if the G's was around, they made sure that stuff was kept under control. And the children didn't see what the adults was doing. Because now, as I grew up, I was in adult settings. Like I said, I went in at 15. By the time I hit 13, 14, I was in adult settings, and I dared adults say anything to me about not being in the settings and getting paper like they get paper. Because it was bestowed upon me and the other children, you know what I'm saying, to up pipe on them, especially when they got out of prison, thinking they can run the block and we already got it. You remember when Drake said on the Chronic, man, when he tried to take that young kid's grip and the kid pulled out a gun on him and busted him upside the head, he laying down in the middle of the street, nigga talking about something he didn't understand. How a young kid so young can shoot him like that over his grip. Y'all remember that on the Chronic? You know what I'm saying? That was a little ghetto boy, that was a true story. You know? Now, promotes reintegration of offenders into the community. I put my life work on that. People minister out of churches, people minister out of mosques. I go into the trenches. I'm out here. I'm gonna be like Jesus. I'm going to the streets and get everybody.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's where everybody at. The real ones. Everybody else, man. I don't come from that.
That's right.
I'm going to my people, right? All right. How to restore justice, transform the justice system and communities. Real quick, y'all know about this stuff. Key sectors: mental health, housing, workforce development, economic development, community development, political, and faith-based. Those entities have to come together in our world in order to make a difference and to restore justice, real justice in our community, because real justice looks like unity. All right. Historical context. We about to close out. We're about to get to the end of this. All right. Post-slavery policies, black codes, Jim Crow laws, barriers to employment and housing. All right. So when I say post-slavery policies, I'm talking about after 1868. We have to talk about this history now because we are affected by it right now. We talked about the 13th Amendment, right? 13th Amendment, they abolished slavery in 1863. It went into action in 1865, right? The 13th Amendment. But the prison industry complex came in 1868. Slavery shall be abolished with the exception for the punishment of a crime. You commit a crime, you're going back onto the plantation. But what it looks like today is, hey, the chain gang, the prisons, these community correction programs. That's what it looks like today. But at the end of the day, what it really is still profit and capitalism. We are in a capitalist society. Human flesh is the #1 on the stock market. The same way slavery was. That's why this shit ain't never end. It looks good, it feels good. We look at our ancestors who picked cotton. We ain't picking cotton no more. We now are in the digital slavery now. Y'all remember the movie Alien? How did the alien come into existence in the movie Alien. The alien, they catch you, right? Put you in this daggone, this thing where you sit there, you're hanging there, you're sedated, and when you open your eyes and open your mouth, this old cocoon is opening up, hatching, and it's gonna jump right on your face. And it's gonna go down to your body, and you become the alien. Guess what that is right now? That's the video games. That's the thing that, remember, man, he went from this to this, virtual reality. We in a whole nother existence. If we let the children be. Just show you how deep it gets. Last night, on my block, right, all the electric cut off. This is 2:30 in the morning. My wife was like, hey, everything's off. I look up, first thing I'm thinking about is protection, right? I got my daughter in there, I'm like, hey, I'm yelling, I'm like, hey, you all right down there? Right, she said, cool. My daughter's 16, right? So then, I'm listening to somebody has a generator, right? I hear it outside. But then I'm hearing a peace, right? I'm like, man, that's what the world is like right now. It's been a long time since I heard that peace and quiet. My wife was scared. I'm like, what you scared for? Because you watch too much TV? Right? I'm messing with it. But at the same time, we had to protect the house, make sure nobody was running around, you know. And I had to stay up. You know, but this thing, if everything was to shut off, what your senses will do. You're in a state of detox from all that pollution. Okay? I mean, I like nature, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we've been fed a lot of stuff. All right. Black codes. How many are familiar with black codes or Jim Crow laws? This is after slavery now. But black codes was before slavery, but Jim Crow laws is after slavery. Jim Crow is what our ancestors went through all the way from the early 1900s down to the 60s. They're going to a water fountain that says Negroes only or whites only. You couldn't use the bathroom or couldn't sleep in this hotel because you was black or brown, right? That don't exist today, but guess what? What do exist? When you had that felony on your record, you get discriminated, you can't get that job. Hey, free people only, fellas here. Check the box. You ain't got to in Ohio, but some people do check the box. But when you go on computer, that's why honest jobs is important. When you apply for a job on the computer, it's not gonna let you go to the next page if you check the box. Honest jobs knocks all that out for you when you sign up with them. You get a job. Create current policy, we talked about that. Analyzing laws to restrict access to the jobs and stuff. That's barriers we talked about. Connection between the policies and high recidivism rates. Like I said before, every year there are more laws being passed to create barriers for us, and the population is getting high and closing in now. We got to be careful because now it's gonna explode. And I see. That's your son,
Yes.
right? I'm gonna say this. When I was that age, I had no idea what the adults were talking about when they was talking about this, right? So I'm not gonna undermine what he knows, but he's gonna come up in a society that'll be way different from this one. I encourage him to be a leader in that society. You know what I'm saying? Give him a round of applause for being here. I'm not the board member. That's our future leader over there. I know you're trying, sis, you know for sure. That's our future leader. All right. I just wanted to go over this right quick. So these are our national leaders. That's me down in the middle. These some of our people from LA, Detroit, Northern and Southern California, Pittsburgh, our national trainers. We have monthly calls that we get on, right? Our monthly calls are the last Tuesdays of the month, where I do a virtual meeting. And once you get on there, everybody from the state of Ohio is on there, so you get to meet people from all over the state doing this work and talk about what's going on in their city and talk about what they're trying to do to improve policies and improve, increase public safety in their cities and their town. People from Cincinnati, from 75 north to 75 south, from 30 east west, 71 north, 71 south. People are all on these calls. You know, sometimes we go from 10 people to sometimes it go to 30 people. It fluctuates depending upon what's going on. I got a call coming up with the young Christian professionals. They're offering resources. They're all over the state, YCP people. I try to bring people on who got things to offer rather than just sitting there talking all day. Okay, because now we in a state now where it's too much talking going on. I feel like I'm talking too much right now, but I gotta get this information out. Okay, so that's why I'm rushing through it. All these stakeholders do the same thing. Policies like banning box, I talked about that box recently. Expungement clearance is what we're really focused on for this year and next year, because we're trying to get people's records clean, as well. We trying to make sure they get past these barriers. Job training programs, housing initiatives, like in Mansfield, I refer people to different housing initiatives. Job training programs, so just recently, I heard you couldn't make it next week.
Next week, yeah, she told me to come in February.
Okay, February. So I had a job opportunity. Look, I post job opportunities up for people to go into the prisons and teach classes, the ones I talked about earlier.
But share that, because she did say the group here and some other people is welcome to register and come.
Right.
And I did want to share the opportunity.
I'll share that with y'all. Put your emails up on the sign-in sheet. I'll send that to you, all right? I'll make sure I get that to you. It's a job opportunity, all right? Community support networks, we got a couple. Listen, you got people got different programs, and we all got to come together, man, and bring our programs together. So the urgency changes now. I welcome you all the time done. We take action right here. Where is this at?
Courthouse.
Huh?
Courthouse in?
Nah.
DC.
Nah, this is Columbus.
Columbus.
This is state capital.
Okay.
That's what we need to be. That's what, at the end of the day, y'all hear Anton speaking, and some of y'all used to him, but at the end of the day, he down here.
They don't get y'all down here.
He down here. He can get y'all down there for free. You know what I'm saying? He's down here. And Toledo is always, saying, it's like Toledo's like that corner some people don't know about, but he represents y'all all day long when he comes through. So, y'all okay?
Mm-hmm.
We about to close. Just a minute here. I'm about to open the floor up. All right, y'all got any questions?